We are live. Chris Walker,
All right.
nice to have you on the show, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good, man. Very, very good. How's things going there on your side? Where you are out in Minnesota side, aren't you?
Yes, we are. It's finally turned warm. Summer's finally here, I hope. We're doing good.
Excellent. Does that mean that with the warm weather that the hot rods are now starting to creep out of the garages and
Oh yeah. First warm day, they're everybody's filled up, ready to go.
Awesome. Can you just for the guys that are new to to the channel and stuff, can you do an explanation of who you are and just what you do, what you specialize in?
Sure. My name is Chris Walker with ITW Hot Rods. I've done all kinds of car repairs. Basically started in 1992. Went to school at Dunwoody for a couple of years. Graduated there from auto body. Went to work for a union dealership and did dealership cars for about 12 years. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the job that I did. I had great pride in what I did. But really, when you do an automobile repair like that on newer cars, if you do your job right, no one knows that you're there, and the job gratification just was kind of down here, and I was hoping for something up here. So then I started doing something a little bit different, doing hot rods, and because I had done all that body and paint work, I felt, I don't know, I felt a little bit lazy, didn't want to do all that paint work, so I started doing a rat rod style cars. Mine are a little bit more performance orientated than some, but mostly rat rod style.
Your cars have just blown up the internet on so many occasions. I mean, you've got such a unique style when it comes to your cars.
I hope it's a good thing.
No, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The one that you're well known for, or the best known, is the El Camino, or the what was left of El Camino. What was that project? Yeah.
So we call that one the Hulk Camino. We call it the Hulk because it's green, or what's left on the car is green, and it has a little bit of muscle at 800 horsepower. We just wanted something different. That car was built just for me with just my style in mind. I didn't have a customer behind it or anything. So it was just for me and just kind of for fun. It wasn't anything. I never thought it would go where it's went. That's for sure.
You had that car at SEMA, didn't you?
I did, but it was there kind of on accident. I had another car scheduled to be at SEMA, but due to some family things, I didn't get that car done. And my sponsor, Mickey Thompson, said that, hey, if you still got the El Camino, bring that down in place of the other car. And at first, I wasn't going to bring it because I didn't think that car was SEMA worthy. It's just really not. It's not shiny. It's not waxed. There's no polish on it. The chrome isn't super nice. It's, like I said, it's kind of rat rod style. And I didn't really think that it would go over that well. But due to some influence, my girlfriend talked me into doing that, my better half. And it went over really well. I was surprised and kind of overwhelmed with how well it actually went over.
I mean, I remember sitting in South Africa. I had friends over there, and when they came across the car, guys are sending me photos from everywhere. Okay, you got to check this thing out. Because I think it's because the El Caminos are so rare on our side. I think we only have, on that side, we only had 3. And to see someone has just cut one up. But I mean, that you've got a lot in there. I mean, that wasn't just El Camino. I mean, what have you got all built in there?
It's all 1959 Chevy El Camino sheet metal. I did have to use I used some Impala fenders, but they're the same as the El Camino. So what I did, I shortened the car 4 feet. I took the center section of the car, basically the cab, out, so the doors are no longer there. I took the roof off, moved that back 4 feet. Well, actually 6 feet. So it used to have an 8-foot bed on it. Now it only has a 2-foot bed. So I just moved the roof itself back into the bed and then put the front fenders back onto the front of the bed and eliminated the doors completely. I don't know. I want to say it was kind of a bad idea that went over really well. It's just kind of the whack thought I have. I don't know why they come to me, but that's how it worked out. But it is all El Camino sheet metal.
And you saying you're running 800 horses on that thing? Am I right?
Yeah. Yep. It's so it's a Dart SHP block, 400 small block Chevy with a Callie's ultra lightweight crank, special ground Howard's cam, Dart Pro One aluminum heads, diamond brand pistons in it, custom cut for that motor. 671 BDS blower running about 12 pounds of boost. I run Snow Performance water methanol injection, and that's 800 horse on pump premium. It also has a 300 horsepower shot of nitrous, but I've never filled the bottle. I just don't need it. The car's basically driven on the street, and just don't really feel the need for it yet. But it's there.
Since that car, I mean, you've created more. That was the red one that was based on like a 57 Nomad, if I'm not mistaken. That you did as well.
We called that one Nomad because it really wasn't a Nomad. It was just a 57 handyman special that I cut and shrunk all up and made it look like a Nomad. And everybody started calling it a Nomad, and the internet was, super mad at me for going that route. But once they learned that it wasn't too bad. But once again, I'm from Minnesota, and most of the sheet metal around here is pretty rusted out. There's not good quality. And I mean, that car literally had no floors. When we cut the roof off of it, the quarter panels and doors and cowl just fell apart. There was nothing left. But El Camino was pretty rusty too. But kind of use what's left of it. The floors are rotted out, and
Exactly. Well, I mean, look, the other alternative is crush them. I mean, at least you breathing new life into them, even though if it is like a complete Frankenstein monster. How is your design process? Do you actually have an idea in the beginning when you start cutting, or do you cut the car and then just start putting pieces together and go, take a little bit off here, add on here, there, cut here, drop there?
So I have a vision in my head, and I can't draw. I don't draw at all. It seems like most car builders can, and I can't. So I get this picture in my mind, and I just start cutting and fitting the car back together until that picture is complete in my head. And then once I get the body and the look that I want, then I start looking at how I'm going to build a chassis and fit everything underneath of that body.
Oh wow! Okay, so you actually work the body style together first, and then you look at drivetrain and how you're going to make all of that work together.
Yep,
that is absolutely insane.
I think that's how I get the look that I want, and I don't let all the mechanics interfere with the look, if that makes sense.
That makes an enormous amount of sense, especially for something that's that visual. I mean, it's so striking and visual. And are you busy with anything else at the moment? Is there new projects that you're busy getting ready for shows, for SEMA and that type of stuff?
Yeah, we're trying to put that car that didn't make it last year back together this year, and so I think I got a picture here. So it's a 57. Yeah, it's a 57 Chevrolet, all chopped up, Hot Wheels style, with a big block Chevrolet, a Tremec 5-speed, Corvette rear independent suspension.
That is cool. That is so cool. Jeez. And then, because I mean, we've been talking to the guys, and they said everybody says SEMA's on. I mean, there's no doubt about it. SEMA's going to go ahead. So
that's what they keep us.
Yeah, and has this virus, has it slowed you guys down? Is it screwed with production or anything on your side?
I can only speak for myself and my shop, and it has definitely slowed us down. We do a lot of like collision work, and the collision work, with the dealerships being shut down and manufacturing being shut down, it slowed parts delivery down quite a bit. And it has to have hurt some of the suppliers out there, the aftermarket suppliers, um, just because business has fallen off. I don't know if they'll have the size of the booths that they would normally have, or the range that they normally have, but they keep telling us that it's going on. So I'm really hopeful. I think it'll happen. I got my fingers crossed.
Mm. Your passion on the rat rod is where did the whole rat rod thing start for you? What got you focused more on that side?
I got a. I've always been into the odd builds. I've always really liked like Daryl Starbird's cars, the Rat Fink cars, just that kind of out of the box thinking. And when I went to the car show here, we have a great big show in Minnesota called Back to the 50s. There's about 12,000 cars that come to that show, so it's huge. What? Yeah, it's a very large show, and in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, everybody had to have billet product on their car. It was whatever you could order out of a magazine, and that out of the box thinking kind of in my mind was gone. They weren't building anything original. It was like who could spend the most money on the next billet powder coated aluminum bracket, and that kind of turned me off on the hot rod scene a little bit. And I've been going since '93 to that show, that particular one, and I just felt like doing something different and trying to get back to some of the out of the box thinking, but come up with my own style. I wanted to take like a big Americana car and change it into something that was sportier, looked cool, but I didn't have to, finish it and paint it and do the body work to it, where I could, display where I cut the car. All my welds are open for the public. They don't, I'm not burying them underneath a bunch of Bondo or filler or anything. Just kind of cool.
That you really hit the what's nail on the head there. That was something that I started picking up a few years ago. I mean, if you look at the old time, the Ed Roths and the Barris boys and this type of stuff, the builds were raw. I mean, like I said, everything was kind of open for you. Everything was open for interpretation. When you went through it, you went underneath, like you said, you could see the welds, you could see the build, you could see everything. And the street rod style kind of did get to a point where it just started covering all of that up more than anything else. It was the shape that went into it. So a car had more Bondo on it than any form of design. If am I correct with saying that?
That's how I felt it looked to me. It looked like everything had to be so perfect and pristine, and every body line had to be so crisp. They weren't even. You could tell that they weren't stamped body lines anymore because they were so sharp and so clean that you could tell that they were buried in filler. Now, I don't want to say that that was bad. It just wasn't my style. I just wanted something. I wanted something more traditional, back to how they did it. And I'm definitely not. I'm not comparing myself to those builders in any way. It was just like ice cream. It was a flavor of ice cream that I liked, And everybody likes ice cream, but we all like a different flavor. So that's kind of where I was.
Sometimes I watch the shows, the car building shows, and like I said, that's the thing that always gets to me is they do the rust repairs and that cut out big door sill that's got a piece of rust and they're replacing that and stuff. But and then afterwards you just see them smacking down the Bondo, and then they're flatting that thing for like 2-3 days. They're sanding that. Is that where it's sitting at the moment? Is that where the industry is sitting at the moment? Is it, or is it still that the old day of no? You got to get the metal right. It's the metal. The metal has to be right before you start doing anything.
I think that's finally starting to change a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of younger guys, a lot younger than myself, that are interested in that metal work. They're buying the tools to do it, the English wheels, the shrinker stretchers, the power hammers, because that was almost a lost art. I mean, in the 90s, no one was doing that. What kind of got me thinking about it was Jesse James. how he was rebuilding the gas tanks. You know, he wasn't ordered them from the magazines. He was hand building them. You know, and that kind of got. I don't have the tools like that. I just have a cutoff wheel and a welder, so I pie cut everything and to get my radiuses. But it works for me, and I think that that quality of metal forming is coming back. It's almost like an art. You know, they're really fine tuning their art and taking it to a new level.
It's just that was the one thing. I mean, a lot of guys when rat rod started originally, a lot of guys were very critical, going how rough they are, and the fact that a lot of guys were just welding a bunch of crap on cars, and just to try and get the look and feel. And there was a lot of question around you know, um, safety and all this type of stuff. But what I started looking at is you started looking at the body builds and stuff that the guys were doing, the type of welds where, like I said, exposed penny welds on body pieces and on chassis pieces and this type of stuff, where everything wasn't just laid over and hidden with paint. That to me kind of helped kickstart that revolution. Was the rat rod industry going back to that metal, the chopping, the bending, channeling, and massive amount of bodywork that's going back into it. And like I said, not just okay, just get it pretty, get it bondo, get it out type of thing. You know?
Yeah, I think you're right. The the thing is the car community is good. We're kind of one, and
Mm.
you get a few people that don't want to interact with some of the other guys, like you'd be looked down on if you had a rat rod. But for the most part, the car community is tight, and I think we've helped each other in a lot of ways. Like the guys that didn't have the equipment or couldn't weld, and you could see it in their builds. You know, we've taught each other how to weld better, how to build a better product. You know, the people wanted to get involved and they couldn't afford these big dollar hot rods. So that's kind of where I think rat rodding, kind of got its own group again. And we've come a long way. I think we really have. I mean, you look at the rat rods back in the early '90s when it was just starting to get hot. And you're right, a lot of safety issues, a lot of different things, but we've all learned a lot and showed each other how to do it right. I mean, I've made mistakes every day, and get straightened out on them, get it right
But
and get it rolled.
but like I said, it did bring back the old school way of building, where it wasn't just checkbook. It wasn't. It wasn't just you get a body and then and then you sit and you start ordering parts and you're going crazy. What I loved about the rat rod movement when it started, it was about, okay, well, I've got a body now. What's next? There's my buddy's got a motor laying over there. There's a back axle laying over here, and there's a grill. What's it from? No idea, but it's going to look awesome. Let's get that thing on, you know. And then everything comes together, and then there's chopping and changing. It brought that. It brought that personalized section, and I think, I've got the feeling that our market after this is going to look at that again. It's going to be about the home builds a lot more than just the checkbook builds, if that makes sense. Um, because the budgets won't be there as much as they used to be there, because everyone's cutting because of what's happened. So maybe that home build, that camaraderie starts working even more.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope for me on this side, it's been a really good thing. I mean, we've got a group of about 12 to 25 car builders that all kind of. I mean, we talk to each other constantly from this state and other states about what they're building, what I'm building, what I think would look good, what they think would look good. We've even had this concept of where we'll start a build in one garage and then pass it to the next garage and let them do what they want and pass it to the next garage, and then when it's all done, would just see what we all collaborated on and see how it would turn out and what it would look like. And I think that'd be fantastic.
That would be absolutely insane. I'd love to see that. Just to get everyone's piece of input and stuff going into a build, that must be absolutely insane. Ah, man. Yeah, I think that's the only problem. We're still far off. We still have a lot of the builders where one guy doesn't want to share his info with anybody else. And, um, the rodders that I worked with originally, they were the same. The one would phone the other one and go, "Oh man, I want to put a 57 dashboard. I want to put a different dashboard into a car." And everybody, "Oh, complete no, bad idea. Ron, do you have this? Oh, I've got a piece of this one." These we used to use the term project donations. Buddy would
Sure.
tell you what he's busy with, and then you got a steering wheel or something laying in there, and that's donation towards donation. Does it fit? We don't know. We'll make it fit. That's the
Right.
whole.
We all, that's the thing. We all have a whole room of parts that I'm not going to use them on my build yet, but they're good parts. It'll work on something, and I can't get myself to throw it away or bring it down and turn it in for iron for scrap. But I know it's valuable, and if the next guy can use it, he's welcome to it. It's just kind of
Exactly.
help move our sport along. I think help it evolve into something new.
How do you see? I mean, over the last few years, what has been the biggest changes for you in the industry? From a running. I mean, you get to see the smaller shows in the US. You get to see the medium ones, and then you get to put your projects out at the big ones. I mean, where do you see the industry's gone over the last few years?
Uh, I don't know. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure how it's going to be involved or evolve into something bigger than what it is. It's just the growth of like SEMA is crazy. That's insane how that keeps growing and growing and growing. And there obviously is a need for all these aftermarket parts. Our industry is way bigger than what I think any of us can imagine. The millions of dollars that are spent out there, and I'm curious to see how this art, this car, and how this aftermarket parts are all going to evolve. We see some of the aftermarket parts suppliers reaching out to some of the more like rat rod home build guys to get their parts on our cars instead of some of the bigger dollar cars. And it's interesting. I'm not sure where it'll lead in the long run.
That's quite interesting. Look, but it makes sense for if you're looking at the big part guys to try and spread their wings into the up and comings more than
Yeah.
anything. I think because with social media at the moment, we live in a time where you do not know who's going to be the biggest name in 3 months. Um,
Right. It's evolving so fast. There's builders. Uh, this friend of mine of Sean Puz in Florida. I mean, what he's coming to SEMA with this year is huge. It's hand built. It'll look great. There's a radical rod build off that has a bunch of builders well, they're kind of international builders,
yeah,
but I think
I know
it's
the
elite.
radical build off. Yes, I know all about that. Yeah.
The builds that they're coming with are just going to be amazing. And like you said, it's almost like technology in the computer. You don't know what the next big name is going to be. It's evolving so fast.
Mm. I think that must be very frustrating for the big shop, the big builders. I mean, here they sit and they're laying out their plans, and then you've got a backyard guy that's just building something cool from parts that he can find anywhere, and he's throwing out, and the internet just completely explodes around it. Maybe that's why the smaller part guys are trying to get there. Like I said, we never know who's going to be the biggest next build guy. Uh, kind of answered my own question on that one.
Yeah. It's amazing how with the internet now, anything you can just about build anything and get any kind of press with it. Before you could build something and there was no way to get it out there in front of the eyes, especially if you were a backyard builder. But now with the internet, you go out and shoot a video, and If it gets in front of the right people and starts, and if it's cool, it just explodes.
Yeah, that's true. Can you imagine if the Ed Ross and the Von Dutches were alive today? I mean,
Yeah,
you know, the I watched a show the other day where they were finding some of Ed Roth's cars, and they're busy restoring them. And it just breaks my heart to find out how they're laying in junkyards, and because I mean he was just a builder, and he would just build it, sell it, to build another one, type of thing.
yeah, yeah. His, from my understanding, his main focus came from building the car, selling the rights from that car to the model companies like Revell, and then they would build the models, off of that, and that's where he'd make his income. He wouldn't really make the income from the car, but still,
Hmm.
for such a big name in the industry, you would think that car would be, in a museum somewhere, not found in the back of some shop, but that's
Exactly,
how.
exactly. And then I mean, but that era of car building was just insane. I mean, it was like maybe it was all the LSD and everything that was going around at that stage, but it was just so way out. There was no limit to anything.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's how it should be all the time. It should be no limits. We shouldn't let, like my car, that El Camino. I get a lot of love on that car, but I also get a lot of hate on that car. There's a lot of people that don't like it. They don't like the fact that I cut up a traditional car and turn it into something. They say the lines don't flow, but I didn't build that to make those people happy. I built that car for me, and if we keep that in our minds and keep building what makes us happy, and if people like it, they like it. If they don't, well, they can go build their own car that they like, and just keep moving it that way. But we have to share that information of how we built that car, what we did to make it safe, what we did to make
mm,
it go down the road nice, and the laws here in the states are getting tougher and tougher, and we need to stay up on those and build the cars within those laws and make them right.
that's my next question. I mean, now with the I mean, look, we're still okay in South Africa. We can build big blocks and we can roll coal and we can do that. They're not yelling at us yet, and they're not finding us yet.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, your rules and regulations are just going up, and I mean the push to go electric, electric cars and stuff. I mean, are you seeing that coming in more into the builds and stuff on that side? Do you think like SEMA, there's going to be a few weird electric options out?
yeah. We've already seen a couple of electric rat rods come out. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad direction. I think, like, it's that we have to evolve with what's happening around us, and if that's the route that we're going, and I don't see anything wrong with it, then we should start exploring that. Yeah, I don't want to have any walls or barricades put up. I want to think outside that box, and if that means
Embrace.
electric.
I think just embrace it. That I think that's what we need to do. We need to start cutting up Teslas and building rat rods from
I'm
them.
all for it. All for it.
So get Elon Musk to watch this so he can start donating some Teslas so we can build rat rods. Um,
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I saw. I mean, Icon did that 49 Mercury that they ran from an electric side, and they did it really stylish. I don't know if you've seen that. If not, I'll send some photos through to you. They did a great job with building, and it works because it is this massive mash of technology together. You've got the serious old school hand formed, patinaed, rusted car running this modern technology. There is actually something very beautiful about that merge between the two.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so as well.
I think, like you say, that look, all we can do is just see what moves forward.
Yeah, there's actually a guy here in the states that has gutted out a small, I think it's a small block LS, and incorporated all the electrics, all the
I
computers, and everything to
saw
that with
that.
the back on it. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's going to be so cool. I like how they're giving it that V8 look, that big Hemi looks and that type of stuff already.
Yeah,
Like,
I think we'll move beyond that at some point. But for now, I think that's the way to start getting that merge from electric into that kind of stuff. So when you open up the hood, people are like, "Oh yeah, that's just a LS or that's just a Hemi," and you're like, "Yeah, but it's an electric Hemi." People go crazy.
The only thing is when they start and they rev it, it goes.
Yeah, it won't sound that impressive, but it'll be cool to look at.
Get Rockford to put a bunch of subwoofers in the back that's throwing out some engine noises or something at the back of it. There's a company in the UK called Charge. They started mass production of 1967 Mustangs. That's all electric now. So I think that movement, I mean, I've seen that. I've seen Ferrari 308s, the old 356 Porsches. It's big in the VW market. Split windows and stuff where the guys are starting to move over to electric. Look, obviously it is going to be the way forward. The riding way has always been build what you can get your hands on, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. That I believe that 100%. Build what you have around you and what you can get your hands on. If that means it's a Chevy V8, it's a Chevy V8. If that means it's an inline six or a Ferrari motor, build what you have in your possession. We have a friend in France that he's building Porsche rat rods. He's building Lamborghini rat rods. He's whatever he can get his hands on. That's what he's doing.
I'd love to see that. So he's actually cutting up Porsches. Oh, wait. He's posted some stuff out on social media already. Didn't he just do a Lambo?
Yes, he just did a Lambo, and he had it at SEMA last year at the Mecum Auto Auctions, and it sold through Mecum. And it had a Enzo Ferrari signature on the dash, I believe, or somebody's signature on the dash. I don't remember who. But I don't know. I don't know, but it was a cool build. In fact, my car broke down in SEMA just before SEMA, and he told me out with that Lamborghini. He told the El Camino out to the SEMA Ignited show in that Lamborghini. Yeah, it was a sight to see.
That must be awesome. That must be absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me, man. That was awesome.
Great. Yeah, it was an interesting interview. It was fun.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show. And listen, good luck with the build for SEMA. If all goes well, I'm going to see you. Thank you so much for talking to me, man. All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks. Cheers.
Yep.